When you consider Hashem as a father, as a mother, He will be next to you.
B'shut Morai v'Rabotai, with the permission of Hashem, I would like to explain to you today a few things about the Mishkan. You know, as you know, the Mishkan, it was the tabernacle where it was the house of Hashem that the Jews they built in the desert. And as you know, the Jews in the desert, after they did the Egel, so unfortunately, they made a big mistake by doing what they did. So Hashem told them, from now on, I don't trust you. I now build me a house, so I will be living with you, among you. So the Mishkan was built, everything was ready, and so here something happened. Moshe Rabbeinu alav shalom, he was walking, and he saw some Jewish people, they were laughing at him. And they said, well, Moshe, he became millionaire, he became rich, because with all the money that we give him to build the Mishkan, with that money, so he probably took most for himself, and because really we bought him a lot. And it's impossible that he did not take something for himself. So they were talking between them, and then Moshe Rabbeinu alav shalom, of course, he was very, very upset, really, very upset. And so what Moshe Rabbeinu did, he said, okay, I'm going to count. I'm going to give you, an inventory. All what you give me, each one, you will tell me what he give. So I will show you, I will prove you that all what you give me, I use it for the Mishkan, to build the house of Hashem. I will prove you. Now, and that's what the Torah said, Ele pekudei Mishkan, Mishkan ha'edut. And the Torah said twice, Ele pekudei Mishkan, Mishkan ha'edut. This is the account that Moshe Rabbeinu did, the account for the money that he spent for the tabernacle, for the Mishkan, which is the Mishkan ha'edut, Mishkan of the Torah, or the Mishkan of the pact that there is between Hashem and the Bnei Israel. So here we have two big questions. First question, why the Torah has to tell us twice Mishkan, HaMishkan, Mishkan? Why the Torah has to account? I mean, why the Torah has to mention this is the account that Moshe Rabbeinu did for the Mishkan of the Torah, or the Mishkan of the pact between Jews and God. Why the Torah will not say this is the account that Moshe did for the money that he spent for the Mishkan? Why the Torah used twice Mishkan? It's like I tell you, this is the account of David Pinto. This is the account of David Pinto. That's it. What's it? The account of David Pinto. I mean, this is the first question. The second question is, how can we imagine the Jewish people, big tzaddikim, how it's possible that they can make a laugh about Moshe Rabbeinu? How they can suspect him that he stole their money? I mean, it's incredible. He was the one who teach them Torah. He was the one who did a lot of miracles. He was the one that he He made them to cross the sea, the Kriyat Suf. He's the one that he went to the Shamayim. He's the one that he prayed for them, that Hashem will forgive the Jews for the Egel, the idolatry that they did. I mean, how is possible to come to this conclusion, to suspect a big tzaddik, the one who did so much for them? How it's possible? How it's possible? I mean, it's not possible. I don't imagine. People laugh at Moshe. This question, a lot of rabbis ask this question. Not only me. Of course, there is a lot. There is a big rabbi, Rabbi Nachshon Shailer, the Rosh Yeshiva of Or Shmuel in Yerushalayim. He is midakdek with the word that our rabbis mentions. The rabbis, the Midrash mention that there were people who like Tzanei Ador. The Gemara, he brings a Gemara who said, Rab Chama Amar, Hayu Omrim, so the Gemara said, Lama Amar Lahem Moshe La'asot Cheshbon. So why Moshe decided to do the account of the Mishkan? Because he heard some people that he make joke. People who make joke. And that they said, hey, this man, he become millionaire rich from our money. So the Rosh Yeshiva of Shmuel explained, from here we understand when somebody laughs, it can reach a very, very low level. I mean, you see, Moshe Rabbeinu, he built a Mishkan. The Mishkan is here. What there is to laugh? I mean, now, the Mishkan, it don't function yet. Moshe did not build it. It's, all the spares are here. Everything is here. Everything is ready to build the Mishkan, to put him up. I mean, instead of people being excited that when the Mishkan will be built, so the Shekhinah Hashem will appear. It's going to be occupied by Hashem. Instead of being excited about that, they started to laugh. And when a man laughs, he can say anything. Always I said what the Gemara said. Sometimes it could be a rabbi giving a big show, a beautiful show, a beautiful lecture of Torah, and a lot of people are excited and they feel the Kiddusha on that show enough that one man will laugh, will make a joke, and all what you heard, it's rubbish, it's gone, it's finished. Sometimes you hear a compliment about somebody, and somebody will tell a story about him. Yes, that's somebody that you are talking about. Yeah. One day I saw him doing this and this, and people start laughing, so the compliment go. How much you have to be very careful not to make jokes. I mean, there is ways when you have to joke, but there is ways when you should not joke. Just imagine somebody sitting Shiva, he's mourning the death of his father, and a man came and he started to make joke. I mean, all the benefits of the pain that people feel, they will start joke. A lot of times I go to houses where there is you know, people sit on the floor, and while there, it's very important to know that when there is when you go to give condolences, to consolate people that they lost the father, when you go there, you know, as Shlomo HaMelech said, טוב לכת לבית המשתה, טוב לכת לבית האבל ולכת לבית המשתה. Shlomo HaMelech said, it's good to go to a house when there is there people that sitting on the floor, Shiva, and they cry the death of their father, than going to a Brit Milah, to a mitzvah, to a wedding. If I choose where to go, better to go there and give condolence to the people that are sitting there on the floor. That is a big mitzvah for two reasons. The first reason is to consolate those people with the pain that they have by losing a close parent. They need all kind of consolation. And second, that it's so much important that when you go there, you learn one thing, that this is the end. That one day it's your turn. Wherever you go, you drink. There is a mitzvah here, there is a Brit Milah here, there is a Chatona here, there is a Bar Mitzvah here, there is a Brit Milah here. Okay, it's not 100% that you go there for a mitzvah. You probably go there only for the mitzvah, but to have a good breakfast, or to have a good time, to dance. So the mitzvah is mixed. Okay, you will enjoy the Chatan, you enjoy the Chatan Bar Mitzvah, you enjoy the parents of the Brit Milah, but you enjoy yourself as well. But when you go, and beside this, there is a return. If you don't go to the Chatana, to the wedding, if you have a wedding, you have a wedding, they will not come to you. So if you don't go to the Brit Milah, if you have a Brit Milah, they will not come to the Brit Milah. So if they invite you, you have to go. So there is always a nigia, there is always if I don't do that, so they will do the same to me. But when you go to visit people or not somebody, that you really do it for yourself. You don't do it, well, I go to see them, to give them condolence, to consolate them, and so if something happened to me, they will come. Now, you don't want to think that if something happened to you, no, God forbid. You just go that nobody will come to you for that kind of reason, God forbid. It's like I tell you, it's like I was so sad to hear yesterday here in Mexico about a rabbi that he lost 2 children. I was so sad for him. I mean, can you imagine how much he need to go to give him consolation, to give him comfort. I mean, we don't do that because if something bad happened to us, that he will come. No, God forbid. This is the real mitzvah. You do that only for a mitzvah. So you see, my friend, that you see that there is a lot of kind of mitzvot like tov lechet lebeit ha'evel. It's good to go to give consolation to that man that he lost his parent, or he lost one of his family, more than going to somewhere else that there is only a joy. Why? Because, as I tell you, because wherever you go, there is laugh. You go to a bar mitzvah, people are laughing. Of course, that they are happy, but there is a laugh as well. Wherever you go, there is laugh. But when you go to a place where there is no laughing, like they are mourning, so there. But can you imagine you go there and you laugh, you make a laugh, you make a jokes to that place where there is people sitting on the floor mourning their parents. It's not fair. It's no good. It's not covered for the man who passed away. It's not covered for the children. It's not, and this is not. This is not the place where you laugh. You want to laugh? Go to a bar. Go to a friend's house, but not here. Here people are crying, not here. So imagine when you laugh, it's no good. There is when you can laugh. There is when you can not laugh. But here, when you see the desert, the Moshe Rabbeinu, he built the Mishkan for Hashem. Now Hashem is going to appear. Instead of people being excited for what's going to happen, they are laughing at what? At Moshe. Yeah. Yes, this is the Mishkan, fabulous. Don't tell me that Moshe, he used the whole money for the Mishkan. He probably took something for him, and he became rich. Laugh. They make some jokes. Terrible, terrible, terrible. So the question is, how? How? So that was what the Rosh Yeshiva Or Shmuel explained. Because they make some jokes, so they forgot the purpose. A lot of times this is what happened. They forgot the purpose. I mean, there is something, he said something else as well. He said sometimes people, they don't want to accept the word of a rabbi. So what they do? Sometimes the rabbi is here, so what they do? So they make jokes on him. By making joke on him, when people laugh at him, at the rabbi, so when the rabbi say you have to do this, you have to do this, they already did. They don't, because they laughed at him, so there is no kavod anymore. There is no kavod. There is a halacha, if you see a king, and you throw a tomato or an egg on the king, hayad mita. You are the Beit Din at the time, they kill you. Why? Because it's not kavod, because the king, he should be the first one, the first man, the one to respect. So if you don't respect him, you make fun of him, you make laugh at him, so people will not, they will not respect him. If they don't respect him, so it will be civil war. So anyone will do whatever he wants to do, because no one will listen to the king. So that one who make a laugh of the king should kill him, should punish him, so people will see this, they will be afraid. Well, that until you know that I'm talking about a long time ago. Now today there is no, we have no king today, so today there is no, we have no Beit HaMikdash, but this halacha, but never happened. Only once it happened, that somebody that he cursed David HaMelech. So this is another story. But just to tell you that Moshe Rabbeinu, he did not curse him, he just make a fun. What kind of fun? Hey Moshe, he become rich through the money, you know. I mean, joking. But really that joke, he did not come for because there is nothing to joke, because you can count. I mean, you can't imagine that Moshe Rabbeinu, he can steal. I mean, so why is it? Jews, they wanted to joke. They had another reason, for another purpose. What it is, this other purpose? The other purpose is the only way that we will not listen to Moshe Rabbeinu, that Moshe Rabbeinu will make him, he will not be a big leader on us. We make fun of him. By making fun of him, okay. So all what he said, we're not. If once you laugh at somebody, you don't listen to him again. So Moshe Rabbeinu told them, you think I stole money? I'm going to prove you I did not steal nothing. I'm going to prove you I did not steal nothing. And I will count. For Moshe Rabbeinu, I will show you that I did not steal nothing. First, that's what the Torah said. Ele pikoda Mishkan, Mishkan. This is the account of the Mishkan, Mishkan Haidut. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to mention to them, he said, how can you dare, how can you think that I'm building a Mishkan, I'm building the house of Hashem, I am building the house, not only for Hashem, but I am building the house of the Torah. Kodesh HaKodashim. How can you imagine? And there will be the Torah, and the Torah said, Lo tignor, don't steal. You know, and And the Kodesh HaKodashim, there is a part in the Mishkan that it was very, very holy. There, no one can enter. There only the Kohen Gadol once a year, on Kippur. And there was Aron HaKodesh, the arch. And inside was the 10th commandment, the Luchot HaBrit. The 10th commandment, and there was there a Sefer Torah. And the Sefer Torah, it said, and the 10th commandment said, don't steal. So, how can you imagine I will steal money from you? Why I am in this, we just built a Mishkan, the tent of Hashem, and next to the tent of Hashem there is there the Mishkan HaEdut. There is there the Torah, and the Torah said, don't steal. How can you imagine that? But because you said that, but because you suspect me, I will count. Now when I will prove you that the count is exact, so next time you listen to me. Whatever I say, you have to believe. I know you, he said Moshe Rabbeinu. I know that you think through making a laugh of me, so you will put, so all what I say after you will put doubt on what I will say. No. Once I prove you, so you will know that whatever I tell you is true. But Rabotai, my friend, after all what I explained to you, I still have a big question. How can a person can come to a situation to laugh at Moshe Rabbeinu? Okay, according to the Rosh Yeshiva of Shmuel, that said, well, those people, they were trying to find a way not to make a joke of Moshe Rabbeinu, so once they joke at him, so they will not listen to him. We know that. Once you don't give kavod to somebody, you laugh at him, so that somebody, whatever he says, you take none of it. That's always you have to respect yourself. It's very important. You respect yourself, people respect you. But if you don't respect yourself, so people will not respect you. Or, if people don't respect you, it's a problem. If a rabbi, nobody listens to him, no, they make joke of him, they make a laugh at him, it's a problem. They will not listen. That's what the Gemara said, a Rambam said, that a rabbi always, he should not give to people a reason to make fun of him. Why? Because because he gives them like a weapon. You give them a weapon. If you give them a weapon, and they will laugh at him, so they will not respect him after. So it's his fault. But still, now my question is, I mean, here we are talking about Moshe Rabbeinu. There must be a beginning. There must be something that started. I mean, how the Jews, they came with this idea to make a fun on Moshe Rabbeinu, so that Moshe Rabbeinu he stole money, become rich. But I mean, that kind of joke, it's impossible. How can we make this kind? How can we start to have this joke about Moshe Rabbeinu? And besides this, if you don't listen to Moshe Rabbeinu, do you think Moshe Rabbeinu he will accept? I mean, all what Moshe Rabbeinu said is it's from Hashem. I mean, it automatically, if you don't listen to Moshe, so you don't listen to Hashem. So why you make joke? This is something that we have to understand. I mean, I don't understand. I say there, when you start to make joke, so you don't listen to Moshe Rabbeinu. But hey, people, I mean, by not listening to Moshe Rabbeinu, they don't listen to Hashem. If they don't listen to Hashem, Hashem will punish them. So what they're searching for? What they are like looking? And besides this, why still Moshe Rabbeinu built the Mishkan? And you will see, if Hashem appear, so Moshe did not steal. If Hashem don't appear in the Mishkan, that means that Moshe Rabbeinu steal. So why you have to make joke? This is something that we want to understand. But I think, and this is what I think that Moshe Rabbeinu alav shalom, Of course, everything there is a reason. I was thinking very deep. You should know one thing. Not everyone can accept a rabbi. Not everyone can accept what I say. A lot of times I want to say something, and it's not easy. But I'm telling you, because not everyone, I give an order, not everyone can accept what I say. There's people who can accept, there's people who will not accept. Even that I say something that the Torah said. Because this is everyone has his own point of view. Everyone he has a view. How he sees things. How much time Moshe Rabbeinu, he had problems with the Jews. Always there is problems. And how much time they nearly killed Moshe Rabbeinu. They nearly fighted him. How much Hashem wanted to punish the Jews because they did not give enough cover to Moshe Rabbeinu. I don't think it's easy. The Yitzhara is big. Because each one he has his own thought, how to see, how to think. And I have to tell you this. The Satan pushed the Jews to do the Avodah Zarah. The Satan pushed the Jews to do the Avodah Zarah. I mean, can you imagine the Jews, they were in the desert. They were eating the food that comes from the Shamayim. And they saw in front of them the mountain of Sinai with fire, you know. They saw Anani Kavod, that Hashem protect them with Ananim. Protect them with some 7 clouds. Big miracle in the desert. A big 7 clouds to protect them from the heat, from the cold weather, from the animals, from the enemies. You cannot believe how many miracles were. They have water, good weather. And they did the Egel, because the Satan, the Tzara pushed them to do the Egel. And when it started the Egel, when they started to, you know, the Tzara, he just give him an opportunity, he would push you to do Avera. And they give, and they create to themselves an opportunity that the Satan put in their mind. Hey, Moshe died, you have to do a leader, you have to do Avodah Zarah to lead you, to protect you. This is Zara. And Zara is very strong. Do you think it's easy to be a good Jew without being pushed, kicked by the Zara that he doesn't want to lead you to be what you want to be? It's not easy. So they did the Egel. So Hashem was very, very angry against them. So Hashem said, okay, now let's do Shalom. But the Shalom is, now I'm going to be with you. I'm going to live with you. Do me a Mishkan. Do me a Mishkan. Do me a Mishkan. From your money, from your house, from your gold, from your silver, from your equipment. Do me a Mishkan. So this Mishkan is supposed to be that to bring back the presence of Hashem among the Jews. That from now on the Jews, they have the house of Hashem with them. So this Mishkan as well will remind them a lot of things. It will remind them the Egel, the Avodah Zarah that they did. That they have to be very careful not to do it again. According to the Ramban said that the Mishkan has another purpose. After all what the Jews saw in Har Sinai, the mountain of Sinai, big Nisim, big miracles, so Hashem wanted now all this kavod that they saw, all this glory, all these good things, all these things incredible to believe, that they were the Mishkan, they were the mountain of Sinai, he will put them on the Mishkan. So that there was a lot of miracles in the Mishkan. The Gemara said the Beit HaMikdash, there were a lot of miracles. 10 miracles were there. So that means all the Korah, all the Kavod, all the Kedusha that it was in the Har Sinai, now it's in the Mishkan. It's incredible. You see, that means the Mishkan is a strength that the Mishkan will give us wherever it is. That's why Hashem said 3 times a year you have to go to Yerushalayim to see the Mishkan, to see my house, wherever you have to go. Because through the Mishkan we remember the Matan Torah, through the Mishkan we remember that the Egel that they did, and the Mishkan is a kind of a place to make us that we revive the souvenir, and to be careful not to do sin. I mean, this is the purpose of the Mishkan. Now just imagine, now the Jews finished to build the Mishkan. Everyone did what he should do. Now everything, all the equipment is here. Now all what we need is that Moshe Rabbeinu, he will come and he will build the Mishkan. Wow! And then the presence of Hashem will enter to the Mishkan. So there, my friend, the Yitzhak started again. Yitzhak pushed somebody. He put a bad thought in his mind. And they start laughing. So the other one said, "Why you laugh?" I don't want to tell you. If I tell you, you will be angry against me. It doesn't matter. Tell me, I want to laugh. I want to give me. It's a joke. Tell me. You know, you see this Mishkan, all this Mishkan, it cost a house. Thousands of kilos of gold and silver. But I'm sure that we bought more than that. Where all this? Where's the rest of the money? And Moshe was working. Moshe, he took the rest of it for him. It was a joke. This is Maaseh Satan. This is the way I said, because the Satan was worried. Now that Hashem will live with the Jews, through this Mishkan, now all the holiness of Har Sinai will go to the Mishkan, and then the Jews always will remember their presence when they received the Torah and Har Sinai. So it's going to be the end of me. That's what the Yitzhak was thinking. So he pushed the Jews to have a bad thoughts. So what is the reparation? Moshe Rabbeinu said, okay, I know you Jew, we are good people. And this bad thought that you have, it doesn't come from you. It comes from the Yitzhak. But I have to prove you that you're wrong. And the Yitzhak, he put it, you laugh at me, but the Yitzhak, he laugh at you. Because how you don't think for 1 minute that I have to build the Mishkan. And if really I did something, how can I build the Mishkan? And besides this, and the Mishkan Ha'idut, you have 2 Mishkan. You have the Mishkan that you can enter there. You have the second part of the Mishkan that no one can enter there. And there is the Torah. And the Torah said, don't steal. How for a minute did not think, a minute, how can I go against this mitzvah, not steal? How I didn't think about this? And if I steal, I cannot build the Mishkan. Because there will be no miracles. Miracles don't happen miracles to those who do things against Hashem. But still, I will correct you. Let's do an account now. Now we understand how the Jews started to laugh. I mean, of course, as I said before, it's impossible to laugh at Moshe Rabbeinu. I mean, to make a joke of Moshe. You can make a joke of anybody, but how to Moshe Rabbeinu? And besides this, you make a joke on Moshe. That because by making a joke on him, you will not listen to him. But by not listening to him, you don't listen to Hashem. So and you will be punished. So what is the idea? The Tzara is so big, it's very clever. The Tzara is just want to make you laugh. He don't want to make you think about once you laugh, you just laugh. You don't think when you laugh, you don't make already you cannot control yourself. Then you don't think about the outcoming from this laugh. Then from laugh to laugh, and then you lost yourself. Already you don't know what you're telling. You just make people laugh. My friend, I would like to mention to you something incredible. When Rabbi Akiva, when they arrested him, the Romans, and they wanted to kill him, at that moment, he started to say Shema Israel. So his student told him, Rabbi, the Romans are pushing your body. They make you suffer. And how can you have a moment, instead of screaming, crying, you say Shema Israel with Kavanah? Imagine somebody that they cut his body. Can he count money? They're cutting his body, and this man can't money. It's impossible. You know that they cut your body, and then they will cut your face. Then they will do. They will kill you. You can't money. How can I ever do Shema Israel? From here you see how much Rabbi Akiva love Hashem. I'm sure that moment, the Yitzhara, the Satan, he give a lot of thought to Rabbi Akiva. Yes, you see Rabbi Akiva, you're a big tzaddik, all your life you study Torah, 80 years of Torah, 80 years you did what nobody did. You are like Moshe Rabbeinu. Look what happened to you. But Rabbi Akiva was tzaddik. He was connected to Hashem. The only way that he will not think about the Tzara and about all the things that he tell him, only by thinking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shema Israel. And Shema Israel, what we say? Love Hashem with your money, love Hashem with your body, love Hashem even if they take your life away. That was Rabbi Akiva. He's a teaching for us. That when we come to a situation that we don't know what can happen, situation where there is a tzara, connect yourself to Hashem. Be careful. Shiviti Hashem Zita. Think about the name of Hashem. You never know. But it's very big. Can you imagine? The Jews in the desert, they were big tzaddikim. And when only for 1 minute that they were disconnected from Hashem, the Yitzhara came, boom, he gave them bad thoughts. Boom, boom, boom. The moment when you have bad thought, you don't think about the sin because your mind is occupied already by the thought that Yitzhara put in your mind. There is a when Rabbi Elazar died, Rabbi Akiva was mourning about Rabbi Elazar, and he scratched his face, and blood came from his face. And the Tosfot ask a question: why not allow to bring to enjoy ourselves? We're not allowed to to hurt ourselves. So how Rabbi Akiva did this? There is a story about one rabbi that was studying Torah, and there was a piece of wood, broken wood, on the table, and he was learning, and he was hurting himself with that broken wood, and a lot of blood came. Blood came from his foot. There was there a non-Jew, so he started to make laugh at him. He told him, "You crazy Jewish people, look what you're doing." Because you said Naaseh v'nishma. Usually when somebody proposes you a business, you ask what kind of business, then you say yes or no. If it's normal, no normal, but you choose. Hashem said, "You want Torah?" You said, "Yeah, we do," and then we want to hear. First, listen what Hashem wants to give you. Listen the purpose of the Torah, then you accept. But you accept it before you listen. You look what you're doing to yourself. This man told him, "Look, because you're Mashiach, yeah, look, you don't even realize that you hurt yourself. You wound yourself." I don't want to go into details of those kind of stories. Just I want to tell you one thing. The Jews, when they received the Torah, they were so connected to Hashem. They saw the presence of Hashem. There was no room for the Tzara to tell them, tell Hashem, when Hashem proposed in the Torah, there was no room for the Tzara to tell them, tell this to Hashem, we want to listen after we accept. And this is our heritage. When a man is connected to Hashem, there is no Tzara. All those millions of Jews that they die for Kiddush Hashem, they love so much Hashem. No, there was no room for the Tzara to push at the door, not to accept the Torah, or not to die for Hashem. Rabbi Akiva alav shalom, for him, Rabbi Eliezer was the top. Was Moshe Rabbeinu for him. He was a big tzaddik. He was a tzaddik. What he did not do it on purpose. When he was hitting his hand, when he was scratching his face, he did not know he was connected to Hashem. His tsar was, his pain was the death of this big tzaddik. From where? From who is going to study Torah? From who? Who's going to be his teacher? This rabbi that he was studying Torah was connected to the Torah. He did not feel that he was hurting his hand through the wood, into the wood, broken wood. So he wounded himself. It's not, Rabbi Eliezer, he did not hurt himself just to show people, oh, look what, he did not do it on purpose. His thought was the missing of the tzaddik. The tzaddik will go, there'll be a lot of gezerot. The tzaddik goes, who knows what's going to happen? Ay. My friend, now you understand. I would like just to finish with something that has no, it's not related to what I'm telling you. You know, on Hanukkah, when I'm not allowed to do a hesped, on Hanukkah if somebody die, on Hanukkah I have to be happy. There is no mourning on Hanukkah. We're not allowed to, if we bury somebody, we're not allowed to talk, to make people cry, because usually when somebody dies, there is a rabbi who talk about the dead person, and they remind the family, the people, what he was doing, the people cry. So on Hanukkah, we're not allowed to cry. And just I would like to tell you this. On Hanukkah, we know that the Greek, what they wanted to do is that the Jews will not study Torah. And any Jew who wants to study Torah, they kill him. Any Jew who respects Torah, they kill him. You know, the Torah is the food for the neshama, for the soul. Like when you eat food, is for your body, for the neshama it's the Torah. The neshama is the food for the Torah. So if there is no Torah, there is not for the neshama. If there is not for the neshama, so it's finished. So it's assimilation, and it's finished. Finished. See, it's the death of the body. I mean, a body, he can die in two ways. He can die when he has no religion, or he can die when he dies. You bury him. So on Hanukkah, we know we light the menorah 8 days, Shimona. And Shimona, it's 8. Shimona is the same letter of Neshama, the soul. On Hanukkah, the soul is happy. That Baruch Hashem, the Greek, all what they wanted to do to us, has no success. Baruch Hashem, we're still not only alive, we're alive spiritually and physically, Baruch Hashem. On Hanukkah we said, "Hanerot halalu kodeshem." Those lights that we light on Hanukkah, they are holy. We're not allowed to use them. Those nerot, those lights, are symbolic to children. Because the Hanukkah is symbolic. Hanukkah is symbol of the Neshama. Hanukkah is symbol of the Torah, the light of the Torah. The Hanukkah the symbol of the children, those 8 children. The children are holy, you have to give them good education. Don't put in their mind other things beside the light of the Torah. The future. So I look today. Today you see a baby, a boy, a child, happy if you give him an iPad, a telephone. He's happy. So you see his face, light. But through what you give him, he will be happy physically, materially, but not spiritually. His spiritual will be finished. This is a big problem. And that's why the Hanukkah is a symbol of the Hanukkah. Those children are holy. You have to give them only Torah, mitzvot, ma'asim tovim. So they will respect the Torah, so they will not make fun, joke about rabbis, about the mitzvot. Otherwise, they will die spiritually. So those children, if they will die spiritually, they have nothing to give to their children. Like today, if the parents don't give Torah, light, the mitzvot for the children they have nothing to give to their children. And then after a few years, finished. They assimilated. So Ma'ali Bakodesh, that's what B'Tchilei said, when you light the candles, you start by 1, the second day you light 2. You don't light 8, and then 7, and then 6. No, you light 1 by every day. That means you have to give to your children education step by step, further and further, until they become autonomous. They can, like a baby. You teach him how to walk, then he walk on himself. You teach him how to eat, then he eat himself. Then we teach you how to drive, then you drive by yourself. And that's why on Chanukah, it's we should be happy for the neshama. The one that we just buried now. On Chanukah, of course, it's painful for the family, but we are not allowed to increase mourning. Why? Because Chanukah, it's happiness of the neshama. So Baruch Hashem, thanks God, this neshama that just passed away, this man that just passed away, he was buried as a Jew, he was a good Jew, so now his neshama is up there. That's it. This is the joy, that this man, he died as a Jew. So we don't need to add more than that. My friend, you understand all what I tell you now. Now we understand this. Now we understand how much each one of us should be very careful to do all what he can to keep on our neshama clean, Be'ezat Hashem, till Mashiach come. And the only way to keep it clean, to be very careful. You go to synagogue, this is the place where the Satan, the Tzara, can make you laugh at somebody else. So once you laugh, there is no prayer. It can make you talk. Only in a place where you can be close to Hashem, there the Tzara is there to destroy that connection. And how will you destroy it? By bringing it to your mind of thoughts, and by showing you somebody who touches his nose and you will start laughing at him. This is, or just like what happened in the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, when the Tzara saw that the Jews, they can be protected from the Mishkan. So he wanted to try to bring them a kind of joke, on Moshe Rabbeinu. So then they will lose the control listening Moshe Rabbeinu. But hey, Jew, but think 1 minute. By not listening to Moshe Rabbeinu, Hashem will punish you, because all what Moshe Rabbeinu says for them, Hashem, for that. When a man is in the Avera, you don't think about it. It's like when a man sees a married woman. If you don't stop right away, you will enjoy her face. And then we start thinking bad thing. But you're not allowed. And that man, they don't think that he's not allowed. Or what he thinks is allowed. This is what we learn from this parasha. The Tzara, he track you step by step. He is very clever. This is his Chokhmah of the Tzara. Very clever. He knows how to track you step by step. The same way that Hashem, He will help you when you do the first step, first good step, Hashem will help you, the Tzara too. The first bad step you do, the Tzara will track you. God bless you.
الهرب ده بيتبين